So imagine a man who's been coughing constantly, which I've been doing pretty much these last few days. And this cough keeps him up half the night and interrupts any conversation he has, and that's more than a minute or two long. And the cough is so unrelenting that he goes to the doctor. The doctor runs his tests, and it's lung cancer. Now imagine the doctor knows the tough news. Now imagine the doctor knows how tough the news will be to handle, so he doesn't tell his patient about the cancer. Instead, he writes a prescription for some strong cough medicine and tells him that he should be feeling better soon. The man is delighted with the prognosis, and sure enough, he sleeps much better that night. The cough syrup seems to have solved his problem. Meanwhile, very quietly, the cancer is eating away at his body. Cancer is the real problem. The coughing is only a symptom. You know, every week people come to church coughing. We're struggling with something. We're hurting about something. We're stressing out about something. We've cheated. We've lusted. We're spending more than we should. We're worrying. We're quitting at things. We're medicating ourselves. We're avoiding things. We're searching for things. Well, those are only symptoms of a much deeper problem. You see, we spend a lot of time treating the symptoms of our life, but not a whole lot of time dealing with the real issue, and the real issue is idolatry. Did you know that? There are over 2,000 references in the Bible that refer to our idolatry. And God is making this a really big deal. In Exodus 20, which you'll hear periodically over the next 6-7 weeks, Exodus 20, verse 4 says, "You must not make for yourselves an idol of any kind or image of anything in the heavens or on the earth or in the sea." Okay, wait a minute, Pastor Tom. I don't make any idols of any kind, and I don't make any images of anything. In fact, Pastor Tom, that's the only commandment I haven't broken. Well, I never murdered anyone either. You know, and other things I'm probably pretty much guilty of through the week, if we're honest. But you know, really, Pastor Tom, I don't make any idols of any kind. I don't make any images of anything. Pastor, I'm really good. You know, I don't have any little Buddhas sitting in my house, and I don't have any little statues I bow down to. I'm not like King Nebuchadnezzar, who made an idol, 90-foot idol, and making everyone worship me. I don't kneel down at the golden statues. I don't bow down to carved images. Well, Scripture teaches us that it's the number one issue in the Bible. Idolatry is the number one issue in the Bible, and that could raise caution. That should raise caution signals for us. See, idolatry comes into every book, and more than 50 of the laws in the first 5 books are aimed at this issue. In all of Judaism, it was the only one of 4 sins, which was only one of 4 sins to which the death penalty was attached. Did you know that? If you had an idol sitting in your house, they would come and take you away and kill you. You see, to the Jews, idolatry was a really big deal. But that's them. That was written in a time where they made images of gold. That was a time they made living, selling idols. And that's not relevant to me, and that's not relevant to the time I'm living in. Well, ask this question. What if it's not about the statues? What if the gods of the here and now are not cosmic deities with strange names? What if they take identities that are so ordinary that we don't recognize them as gods at all? What if we do our kneeling and our bowing with our imaginations and our checkbooks and our search engines on our computer and our calendars? What if it's true? What if it's true that every sin you are struggling with, every discouragement you are dealing with, even the lack of purpose you're living with, is because of idolatry? Have you thought of that? There's a reason why we're struggling. There's a reason why we can't move on in our journey of faith. There's a reason why we don't grow up. There's a reason why we don't mature. There's a reason why we don't give up childish things. There's a reason why we've been living on spiritual milk, some of us for years, and never really got to the meat of what it means to live for Christ. There's a reason why that happens. And I think it's idolatry. We worship things. We worship ordinary things, and they control our life. When God wants to sit on the stool, we say the words, boy, we want God to make the decisions in our life, and we go to Him and we ask for Him in prayer. But really, when we watch that little skit there with the stool, we want Jesus to sit on that stool. We want Him to make the decisions in our life. We want to move on in our journey of faith, but really, we don't want to give it to Him because we like that, because we're more comfortable there. What if it's true that every sin you're struggling with, every discouragement you're dealing with, even the lack of purpose you're living with, is because of idolatry? What if we're selling ourselves out to these gods without really realizing we're doing it? Well, the bottom line is there's other gods clamoring for your attention, clamoring for your time, clamoring for your money, clamoring for a certain image. They all want to be first place in your life, and we become a slave to whatever God we will worship. And all these gods are at war, and they are powerful. You do not have the human strength to fight them off. Willpower, folks, only works for so long. And these gods are at war. They're all clamoring for your attention and your life. And some of these things are tripping us up and causing us to fall. Some of these things are taking us to the past that we can't get past. And some of these idols are controlling our life, and we don't even realize it. Does that scare you? Well, Pastor, I don't have a Buddha idol in there. I'm not bowing down. I don't have any carved images anywhere in my house. No, this is 2014. Then they had those things. Now we don't. Well, some still do. What on earth are we going to do? Because what God you allow to have first place in your life will be the God that dictates what you do, what relationships you have, the decisions you make, the dreams you have, or the hope you wish to, or what you hope or wish to become. This brilliant ad just came out, on TV. This brilliant ad gives a really sad picture of how what we worship dictates our life. Watch this clip.
Hey, buddy, let's take a little walk. When I say go outside, we go outside. When I say fork it over, you fork it over. Hey, when I say pause the movie, we pause the movie. Oh, come on, big boy. Pucker up.
You see that? That's a really strong picture of what these idols do. They control us. They take our money. They take our time. They take every freedom we have away. If you didn't know, that was a cigarette commercial, if you've seen it or not. Brilliant. But that's exactly what idols do to us. They clamor for your attention, and they control your life. You don't control them. They control your life. They tell you what to do, how to do it, where to spend your money, how to spend your time, what to fill your calendar up with. And these idols tell you what to do, and they pull you along. And we don't even realize it. What on earth are we going to do? Well, Joshua 24, verses 14 and 15 are the focus scripture of the day. And listen to these words. Understand, Joshua's dealing with there's a lot of idol worship going on around him, and there's just a lot of different things they're worshiping. And Joshua says this. So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshiped when they lived among the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors served, beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? But as for me and my family, and you guys know this, what's it say? We will what? Serve the Lord. Isn't that great? Isn't that a great plaque? Isn't that a great plaque that we hang up in our house? But does that plaque control your life? Does that plaque sit on that stool? Or is the plaque there just for decoration? Or is it a proclamation that you read every day? Today, I choose. I make a willful choice in my brain. Not my heart. God has my heart. In my brain, I make a choice to serve him. Every morning I get up. And Joshua, presents them with 4 options of what gods they can choose to worship. And he goes on to say, then choose today who you will serve. You know what puzzles me about God, and I'll never understand it, but I'm glad he gave it to us. What puzzles me about God is that he lets us choose. That just bugs the crap out of me. Sorry. That just bugs the bejeebies out of me. That he lets us choose. Why does he just make us follow him? Why doesn't he just make us serve him? And why doesn't he just make us obey him? He could very easily do it. He created all of us in his image. He's in control of all the world, but he will not force us to follow him or to serve him. Makes no sense to me. Well, the answer's in the question. The answer is he wants us to choose. He has already chosen you. Do you know that? He has already chosen you. He demonstrated that when he allowed the world to nail him to the cross and leave him for dead. And while you were yet a sinner, he died for you. He's hoping that you will choose him. And we choose, folks, every day what and or who we are going to worship. None of us can deny that. We choose every day what or who we are going to serve. We choose every day what or who we are going to obey. All of us worship something or someone every day. Why is that true? Because you and I are created to worship. Since time began, we were created to worship. Adam and Eve were created to worship God. That's all they had to do. And that's all they were created to do. But what happened? Well, both Adam and Eve wanted to be God. Their choice dictated the history of the world. Ticks me off, then they tick you off. Their decision changed the history of the world. Do you know? We'd all be sitting here naked if anyone took a bite of the apple. That's a scary thought for some of us, isn't it? I don't think we'd care. Because they didn't notice they were naked till after they took the bite of the apple. And they brought all this stuff into the world. All they had to do was worship God. And we need to understand that all of us in here are worshipers. Even atheists worship something or someone. Do you know that? They say there is no God, but they worship a small g God. It's called themselves and their own reason. But all of us in here worship something. Liberals worship something or someone. Conservatives worship something or someone. And the things that we worship are called idols. Idols bring, this is how you know it's an idol. Idols bring temporary happiness. Idols make us feel good for the moment, but idols never satisfy the longing in our heart. And 60 Minutes did this incredible interview with Tom Brady. You know, this is not a Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning moment, so don't get into that. But 60 Minutes did an interview with Tom Brady, which really helps understand this point. Watch this clip.
I used to get $600 dorm checks and go eat Subway and use pizza cards to get my way through college and eat baked potatoes and make pancakes every night. So I don't think that's ever been a big thing for me. I mean, I'm making more money now than I ever thought I could ever make playing football.
He's turned down multi-million-dollar endorsement deals because he didn't think they were right for him. And many of the ones he's taken, he's shared with his teammates.
You guys have to go everywhere with me?
But with all that money, fame, and career accomplishments, we were surprised to hear this from him.
Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey, man, this is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life is... Me, I think, God, it's got to be more than this.
What's the answer?
Did you hear what he said there? 3 Super Bowl rings, making more money than any of us will see in a lifetime. And did you hear what he said? There's got to be more than this. There's got, and I don't know if he's a believer, I don't think he is. Even he knows there's more to life than 3 Super Bowl rings and winning, he gets it. There's something more to it than this. And then the interviewers asked him at the very end, then what's the answer? Do you know what the answer is? I hope you do. I'm not telling you. Tom Brady has accomplished more in his life than he had ever dreamed, but he still had this nagging feeling that there's got to be something more than this. None of those accomplishments are bad. None of those accomplishments, none of those Super Bowl rings, none of the money is satisfying the longing in his heart. Whether he's a believer or not, he knows there's a longing in his heart for something more that those things cannot satisfy. But yet we spend a whole lot of our time and energy chasing after these things. And we spend a whole lot of time and energy allowing them to dictate our choices, to dictate our decisions, dictate the people we hang around with, and we allow it to dictate our life, and it pulls us around like a rope, telling us what to do and where to go. And we don't even realize it. Not everything you have is bad. Ecclesiastes 2:24 said, so I decided there's nothing better than enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God. You see, the scriptures teach us that the pleasures are good. There's nothing wrong with the pleasures as long as we don't turn them into a god or an idol. You get that? None of the things that we enjoy are gods, and we are the ones who make them gods. All the pleasures that we have are good. But when they start dictating your life, when they start telling you where to go and where you need to be at a certain time, that's when they become the controlling person. That's when they become a god or an idol. Well, and then 1 John 2:16 reminds us, for the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and a pride in our achievements and possessions. They are not from the Father, but are from this world. You know, we are the ones who turn these gods, we are the ones who turn these things into gods and idols. These things around us were meant to be enjoyed, but not worshiped. Our accomplishments were meant to be enjoyed, but not worshiped. Our possessions were meant to be enjoyed, but not worshiped. But because of this, this longing in our heart, to worship something or someone, we grab onto whatever makes us feel good in the moment. Am I right? We grab onto whatever makes us feel good in the moment. And it becomes a god. So how do you know what gods are warring for your heart? Well, you need to ask these following questions. What are you disappointed with? Because what you are most disappointed with often reveals where we have put our hope. And where we put our hope reveals our God. Do you know that? In most cases, where we put our hope, reveals our God. If your kids are disappointing you, maybe you're putting your hope in them. If your job is disappointing you, maybe you're putting your hope in it. If your spouse is disappointing you, maybe you're putting your hope in them. If you're disappointed with your house, your car, your wages, your lack of stuff, maybe you're putting your hope in them. And you need to be honest about what seriously disappoints you in your life. And I believe you will find an idol there. If you're willing to ask the question, and you're willing to answer it honestly, and you're willing to allow God to examine the depths of your heart, there's something that's keeping us from moving forward, folks. There's something keeping us from a deeper walk with Him. There's something keeping us from really, enjoying the presence of the Lord. There's something that keeps us from doing that. And folks, that's called an idol. And we need to discover what that is, because those idols are going to determine the decisions you make. They're going to determine your life direction. Adam and Eve totally messed it up for all of us. You need to be honest about what seriously disappoints you about your life. And I believe you'll find an idol. Let me give you an example of this. And I've been doing pretty good at this a lot lately. In fact, I've joined in the party. One of the things that used to drive me crazy in my home is water bottles, half-drunken water bottles laid around in my house. Hated it. Drove me crazy. Screamed at my kids because of them. Whose water bottle is this? And I get ticked off at them and go into a tiny rage, and then I began to really ask some serious questions. Why does that bother me? Why does that bother me? What's it make a difference if it's half drunken or half full? Why? And I began to ask these really tough questions. And I was like, okay, what difference does it make? You see, I was worshiping a rule. A rule became my idol. And I was bowing down to it, and it was controlling me. And it was making me angry. It was making me say things that I didn't want to say. You ever done that? It was making me do things I didn't want to do. I was bowing down to that idol. And I was worshiping that idol. In the meantime, destroying relationships with my kids. What a trade-off that was. Idols, if we're seriously, if we're honest about what disappoints us, you'll find an idol. Second question you need to ask, what do you sacrifice your time and money for? You know, the word serve here appears 7 times in Joshua's speech here in Joshua 24. And who or what you serve is revealed by how you spend your time and money. And as we learned from the church in the book of Acts a few weeks ago, they invested their time, money, and resources to care for the people who were left to die by their pagan priests who would flee the area when a plague or famine hit the area. They took their money, their time, risked their lives, went into a plague-infested country, invested their money, their time, their resources in these people, totally ruined their year. Some of them even died, saving a pagan. But that's when the gospel spread the fastest. And they sacrificed their time and they sacrificed their money to people who had no idea that Jesus loved them. You remember what Jesus said to the rich young ruler? If you want to follow me, sell everything you have and give it to the poor. So folks, if you really want to follow Jesus, sell everything you have and give all the money to the church, okay? Live in your car for the rest of your life. I'm just kidding. Next question you need to ask. Where do you go when you're hurt? Because where we go when we are hurt creates an honest moment of worship. You've been hurt, and you've had moments in your life where it wasn't going the way you planned. Where do you go for comfort? You know, some people run to a bottle, some people run to drugs, some people run to food, some people run to sex, some people run to the internet and search for something or someone who will ease the pain. Where do you go when you're hurt? I believe that will reveal an idol that is controlling you and you are bowing down to. And each and every day we need to make a choice of whom or what we are going to worship. Remember that God has already chosen you, and remember that you are the one who gets to make the choice. And Joshua says there, boy, choose this day who you will serve. Okay, what's that mean? Well, appreciate what God has done. Appreciate what God has done. In verses 2 through 13, you can read Joshua recounting the incredible things God had done for his people. And, you know, when we gather here to worship, we celebrate what God has done for us through Christ. Appreciate what God has done. Take account of what he has done in your life. Take some time and sit and think where you were a couple years ago or even a year ago. And appreciate what he's done in your life. And those idols won't have a chance to control you and pull you along. Secondly, recognize who God is. In verse 19 of chapter 24, Joshua reminds the people that God is a holy and jealous God. He will not share the hearts of his people with false gods. Okay, imagine this. Okay, this is not true. Okay? Imagine some woman calls me up and asks to go out on a date. I say, sure, let's go out. So I go out with this woman, go out on a date. Not my wife. Okay? I just go out on a date and well, how do you think my wife's going to react? Oh, I'm so glad you're seeking other people. Oh, you know, we have a free and open relationship. What do you think's going to happen inside of her? Hopefully she'll get angry and be jealous. not let me do it again. Same thing with God. Same thing. God wants the relationship. We want to go out and date while we're in that relationship. And it's okay. We say it's okay, and we don't realizing we're saying it's okay. That's what it means by jealous. God's not insecure. But he's like, what are you doing? You're ruining the relationship. In fact, I'm so jealous, I'll send my only son to die for you and allow you to nail him on the cross. Pretty big stuff. And the third thing, choose this day, means is smash all the other gods. In verse 23, he says to them, throw away the foreign gods that are among you and yield your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel. Easy thing to do. But sometimes we need help from kids. There's a song I learned as a kid. Actually, I learned it after I was a kid. I wish I would have known it as a kid before. And some of you that know the song, if you would sing it with me. There's some of you that won't know this song. But if this is the only thing you remember when you leave here, I've accomplished a great deal. You guys know, make the little box. If I had a little white box to put my Jesus in, I'd take him out and share him with my friends. And if I had a little black box to keep the devil in, I'd take him out and smash his face and put him back again. Scared you, didn't I? All right. Everybody, if you would humor me in my childishness this morning, if you would make a box. If you're too mature for this, don't make the box. If you're too mature for this, you have a problem with pride, and that's your idol, so bow. That's really bad, wasn't it? So if you would join me and humor me and sing with me, those of you who know it really well, we'll sing it through a couple times, okay? Just so you can get the feel. This is something you could take home. And every time an idol comes and you recognize it as an idol, you can sing this song. And I guarantee you, God will take over your life. Sing with me. If I had a little white box to put my Jesus in, I'd take him out and share him with my friends. And if I had a little black box to put the devil in, I'd take him out and smash his face and put him back again. Now, some of you are just way too mature for this, okay? Okay? Now, some of you need to get mature here, immature, just for a moment, because this song could save your life. I really believe. So this is your last chance, and I promise I will end it here. Okay? If I had a little white box to put my Jesus in, I'd take him out and share him with my friends. And if I had a little black box to put the devil in, I'd take him out and smash his face and put him back again. So kids really love the smash his face part. And I do too. Because boy, that's what God is saying here. Smash all other gods. How do you do that? You do that by singing that song. You recognize the idols in your life that are dragging you along, and you sing that song. You pull him out and you smash his face. And not let him have control of your life. As childish as that song is, it could save you from making the stupidest decision you might ever make. It might change the direction of your life Because these idols that we recognize, they're dragging us along. They're controlling our decisions. They're controlling how we're spending our time. They're controlling how we spend our money. They're controlling every part of our life, and we don't even realize it. And we don't want to take the time to figure it out. We'd rather worship them and allow them to drag us along. And they're dictating our whole life. And he says, smash them. There's a war going on for your heart. You know, God could just take away all of our doubts, all of our fears, all of our insecurities, and all of our shortcomings, and all of our exceptions. He could just take them away. And he's not going to do it. Just so you know. Like Joshua. Joshua offers the invitation to choose this day who you will serve. Who are you choosing to serve? Tomorrow morning when you get up, who are you choosing to serve? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Who are you choosing to serve? It's easy on Sunday. Hopefully, if you got that plaque, it becomes an anthem of your life. If you don't have that plaque, get up in the morning. Who am I going to serve? Who am I going to allow to dictate my life? Choose this day. This day. Who you will serve.